Well, good morning, everyone. We are in UXI-115 UX Process Theories, and in week 3, we are going to cover user personas. So welcome back. This is today's agenda. We are going to do a week 2 recap. We're also going to do an overview of our course, as well as overview of week 3. I'm going to provide you with a few resources and reminders. And for our live session, it is being recorded and it's going to be saved underneath the web meetings. So you can access that in the future. You can keep your video on or turn it off. I totally understand. And please keep your mic on mute. But if you have to unmute yourself, let me know if you are having any issues viewing the presentation, please do so. And also, I'll have a few questions to ask you so you can include that within the chat. So let's go ahead and move on to our icebreaker for this morning. For week 2, I'm going to do a recap of week 2. So our icebreaker is name one thing that you learned about in week 2 when we discuss user research methods. And you can send that directly to me in the chat. I'll give you a few minutes to submit that over in the chat. And you don't have to be accurate. I know that we are in the beginning of this course, but it is good to gauge where you are in the course and use this information moving forward. Okay, yes, so everyone does have different experiences and different points of view. So we're going to go over week 2 in regards to user research methods. So why is user research methods important? User research helps uncover important and useful insights about the user and their needs. Until you know your user and their needs, emotions, feelings, struggles, etc., you won't be able to deliver a great user experience, meaning it all starts with the user. And then in week 2, we discussed the 2 different research methods. You have qualitative research and quantitative research. Qualitative research focuses on collecting and analyzing non-numerical data. And here are some examples: participant observation, moderated or unmoderated usability testing, in-depth interviews and focus groups. And then quantitative research focuses on collecting and analyzing measurable user data. Some examples: eye tracking studies, product analytics, A/B testing, quantitative usability testing or benchmarking, card sorting, tree testing, as well as surveys and questionnaires. So let's overview the course. So in this course, you will learn key theories and processes to help you create useful, usable, and delightful products that answer users' needs. And then also in this course, you will work with software tools such as Adobe XD as well as Figma. So for our course project, we'll discuss that briefly. So throughout this course, you will focus on redesigning an existing restaurant's mobile app by identifying problems, performing user research, producing an improved product design, and conducting usability testing. So to elaborate a little bit more about the course project, the goal is to produce a better user experience in the existing restaurant app and create a UX case study asset to add to your growing capstone portfolio. So what is user personas? We're gonna go into week 3. So I have another question to ask, and you can drop this in the chat. Have you heard of user personas? You can leave a 1 for yes and then a 2 for no. Okay, let's see where. So yes, good. Okay, so we're going to just do an overview of user personas. This is something that we're going to focus on heavily this week. And by the end of this week, you should be an expert of understanding what user personas are and why they are important to user research. Our week 3 objectives. So we will focus on the topic user personas, and we will define user personas, discuss why user personas are important, identify and describe a target audience, research market competition, and also develop user personas based on research. So what are user personas? User personas are users whose goals and characteristics represent the needs of a larger group of users. To elaborate a little bit more about user personas help designers better understand the needs and goals of their target users. They are created by taking into account user research and data, and they help to guide design decisions. And they are usually presented in a 1 to 2 page document describing a user's behavioral patterns, goals, skills, attitude, and background. So we're gonna continue talking a little bit more about user personas, but here is an example of a user persona built out. And so you can see they have an image of the user in mind, the name of the user, they have some demographics, including the age, occupation, status, location. They also have some goals, frustrations of the user, also personality traits, skill sets in regards to technology, and some brands that persona uses all the time, and also some motivation. So this is something that you can go back and reference to. I'll have all the slides available for you again underneath the web meetings. So you can go back, reference to this when you're creating your user persona for this week's assignment. So why is user personas important? Overall, user personas build empathy. So designers can gain a perspective similar to the user and identify with the user they are designing for. User personas provide direction for making design decisions. And also, user personas are important because they communicate research findings about users in a way that all team members and stakeholders can understand and relate to. So I know this is a mouthful, but in regards to user personas, in the design thinking process, designers often start creating personas during the second phase, which is the define phase. And I have a chart here that you can always go back and reference to, but this is the process of user research and creating personas. So you'll start off with empathizing, defining, ideate, and then you'll create a prototype for redesigning your app. You'll test it, and then you'll implement all those changes into that restaurant app. So let's dive into what is a target audience. So a target audience is the group of people who will be most interested in and affected by a given message. So to elaborate a little bit more in regards to target audience are focused on building, you as a designer will focus on building your target audience consists of knowing the goals, desires, interests, and pain points of your ideal customers. Your target audience might be a broad market or a niche market. For example, if you sell shoes, you might focus on a wider market as everyone wears shoes regardless of age, gender, and interest. So this is something that you should keep in mind when we are thinking about your target audience for your specific restaurant and how we are going to create user personas based around their existing target audience. So what is market competition? Market competition in UX refers to the process of analyzing and understanding the user experience of competing products in order to improve one's own product design. So it is also known as UX competitive analysis. You may have heard this before, but it is a technique UX researchers use to understand the competition, identify opportunities, and also find an edge. So there are two different types of competitors, and we're going to break those down. So the first one is direct competitors. Direct competitors offer the same goods and services to the same or overlapping target market. Also, in regards to direct competitors, they compete on price based based off of similar offerings. And then you have indirect competitors, which is slightly similar but different. So indirect competitors are in the same market space, but they offer different products. They usually fulfill the same need, so the customer chooses one over another. And then to dive deeper into UX competitive analysis, here are 6 UX competitive analysis research methods that you may want to implement when creating your user personas and when we discuss further in regards to redesigning your restaurant's app. So there are SWOT analysis. Using a competitor's product is another way that you can get an understanding of your competitor. Reading a competitor's reviews, comparison chart, user journey comparison, as well as a usability test on your competitor's prototype. So say for instance, the restaurant app that you chose was Panera Bread, and you are looking at some competitors, either indirect and then direct competitors. You can use these research methods to figure out the pain points for the user, and then you can implement the changes that you want to change in their direct app and changing into your app. Or you might find something that you like about their app that you would like to implement into the app that you chose to create a better user experience. So develop user personas based on research. And so I have a video for you to watch. And this video is going to cover how to create user personas for your research. And this is something that you should implement for your assignment, which we'll discuss in a few moments. So let's go ahead and dive into the video. And please let me know if you have any issues viewing or hearing the video.
Today we are going to talk about personas. What are they? Why do you need them? And how do you create them? Great, let's jump into it. A persona is a profile that represents your primary users. According to Nielsen Norman Group, personas are fictional representations and generalizations of a cluster of your target users who exhibit similar attitudes, goals, and behaviors in relation to your product. They're human-like snapshots of relevant and meaningful commonalities among your customer groups that are based on user research. UX personas are more robust when paired with an empathy map. UX professionals can really get in the shoes of the people they're designing for by keeping the user journey in mind. You may be thinking, why do I need a persona? First, it will help you determine who you are creating your product or service for. This allows your team to be able to navigate design and feature decisions to meet the needs, motivations, and desires of your core customer. Also, by creating a persona, you'll be able to settle disputes amongst the product and design teams, since you'll have a better way of understanding your primary customer's needs and expectations. There are 2 main types of personas: marketing personas and UX personas. We are going to focus on UX personas, which are created to help product teams empathize with a real group of people to understand their goals and aspirations. UX personas are created from various research methods and are used to drive product user experience. Marketing personas are based on market research from your existing customers, which is useful for segmenting and targeting. Although it's tempting to create many UX personas, you should limit the number of personas to one or two. This can be difficult because you may feel like your product users have so many different behaviors and motivations, so they should each have a different persona. However, a persona is a combination or aggregation of those behaviors and motivations, so one or two personas should represent the larger group. It's important to note that if you create too many personas, your team will lose focus on the most important parts of your core user group that the persona is meant to represent. If you have 5 personas, your capacity to keep all of those personas at the front of your mind while making decisions is too difficult. Your team will have a hard time referencing, let alone remembering, those personas on the day to day. Focusing on one or two personas allows your team to develop empathy for them. After all, user researchers, designers, and product managers know that empathy is the key to designing world-class products. In order to create accurate personas, your personas must be based on research. Research is used to understand the shared behavior and needs amongst your product users. We suggest you speak to 5 users per product type. For example, if you identify that your business needs 2 personas, you should speak to at least 5 users for each persona type, so 10 users total. Ideally, you should conduct moderated research sessions. The benefit of moderated sessions is that you have a discussion guide to guide the conversation, but you also have the ability to sidetrack and ask follow-up questions to unearth relevant details. If your business doesn't have the time or the budget to complete the full research, you can always start with a persona that is based on assumptions, competitor analysis, or internal stakeholder interviews. When analyzing the results from the moderated interviews, you should look for overlap and patterns in personalities, characteristics, or traits that the participants share. For example, if you notice a couple of your participants mention they don't trust companies to protect their data and have recently stopped using social media because they're increasingly concerned with their personal security, that is a good data point to add to your persona. The goal of creating personas is to help the product and the business teams focus on the wants and needs of their customers. If used correctly, personas can help the team settle design and feature conflicts. While making these decisions, the team is able to focus on the wants and needs of their primary persona rather than their own personal feelings towards the design questions at hand. Let's talk about conducting research. When speaking to participants during a moderated session, your questions will be different based on your product or service. However, you should make sure to ask questions about the participant's personal life. For example, where do you live? What do you do in your spare time? What are your favorite brands? This is especially important since understanding the brands your customers prefer can give you a real understanding of their personality and what motivates them. Then you should ask technical background and employment questions. For example, you can ask them, how do you spend a typical weekday? What softwares and tools do you use while working? How many hours do you work in a typical day? What devices do you use at work? How do you manage your hectic schedule? You should also ask professional questions about their needs and goals, such as, what are your goals? How do you plan on achieving those goals? And what do you need to achieve those goals? Often, people think about their target demographic as females who are freelance PR professionals. However, that's way too general. Instead, we want to think about Jane, who grabs coffee at her locally sourced independent coffee shop in Brooklyn before she jumps on the train to get to her standing 9 a.m. meeting while checking her email. Throughout this video, we'll build the persona for Jane. Let's jump into the components of a persona. First, you want to select an image. When selecting the image, keep in mind it should be a real person, someone that represents your target customer. Don't use a celebrity or cartoon. Instead, you want to use someone that represents the age, gender, and personality of your persona. Next, give your persona a name. You should give them a name because they are a representation of your primary user, so you should refer to them as a real person. A person has thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that you can empathize with while making design and feature decisions. Naming your persona is key. It adds a human element and creates a storyline narrative to aid problem solving. Next, give your persona a short bio based on the research you conducted. Feel free to use personal and employment data points that were shared during your interviews. Next, you should include a quote for your persona. Your quote can be a quick snapshot of their personality or something that is important to them. Again, the goal is to allow everyone on the team to empathize with the persona. An example quote for Jane is, "To be good at PR, I have to be up on the trends, which is where Instagram comes in handy." This quote describes the persona's motivations and typical behavior patterns. Next, you should include different brands that represent your persona. These brands allow you to add context to your persona and will act as your mood board. When you look back at your persona at a later date, you'll lean on that quick snapshot, and those brands can help trigger empathy for your persona. If your persona's favorite brands are Trader Joe's, Instagram, and Lyft, they'll guide your product differently than if their preferred brands are Maserati, Louis Vuitton, and Whole Foods. You can deduce a lot about the brands your persona prefers. If your persona likes Trader Joe's, you can assume they enjoy a friendly environment with quality products and low prices. Even though Trader Joe's has nothing to do with a software as a service product for PR professionals, the PR product can embody the same attributes and expectations of Trader Joe's in order to appeal to what Jane is expecting. Next, you should add beliefs and behaviors. For example, Jane, the freelance PR professional, says she'll do whatever it takes to protect her client. She's not afraid of hard work and to spend all day in the office jumping from client to client. She uses Instagram and Twitter to keep up on the latest trends. Next, you should outline your persona's goals. It is important to understand their aspirations since you want your product or service to fit into those goals. Jane is driven by creating the most value for her clients. She wants to be there whenever they call, even if that means spreading herself too thin. Next, you should attempt to understand their pain points. What things frustrate your persona? Do they hate doing busy work or routine tasks? Once you understand their frustrations, you can solve for them and build better products that fit their needs. Jane is frustrated by the fact that she has multiple email accounts for each of the clients she is freelancing for. It slows her down when she has to check each of those accounts during her morning commute. Next is personality or characteristics. This is pulled from the Myers Briggs personality test. While it's a great touch, it's not completely necessary. Jane is social and loves the freedom that freelancing offers her. She is always the first one to arrive at the party and the last one to leave. I've shared a link in the description in case you want more information on the Myers Briggs personality test. Lastly, we want to understand their motivations. It can be beneficial to show this in a more visual way so you can easily see what drives your persona. Jane has a sense of pride in her work and is motivated by the social interaction she has with family, friends, and coworkers. Once you have completed your persona, post it all around your office. Try to make it as obvious as possible so people are constantly referring to it. Lastly, your persona should have an expiration of roughly 1 year. The world is constantly evolving. There are new technologies, organizational processes, and customer expectations. It's important to keep your personas relevant in order to be useful and effective.
All right, so hopefully this video was helpful so that you can get started with creating your user personas for the chosen restaurant. So we're going to move forward and I'm going to discuss a little bit more about those assignments for week 3. So before we dive into the week 3 assignment, we do have a yellow dick discussion, which is very important to um, engage in yellow dig and also submit your information for your yellow dig discussion. So for this week's yellow dig discussion, you will have to create a persona based on yourself. So when you are creating that persona, make sure to include your name, also a photo of yourself, a few pieces of demographic information about yourself, your location, job title, your family size, 5 adjectives that best describe you, and also include some pain points. What are a few frustrations you have in your life? An example is I procrastinate too much or my job is too stressful. Those are some examples of pain points. Also, you will want to submit some motivators. What makes you feel happy or motivated in life? And name a few of those things as well. And then also you would like to, we will want you to include a quote. So find a quote that speaks to you or represents you. So after you post your persona in a Yellow Dig discussion, you also want to show it to your friends and family members. And this is a way for you to get their feedback. Do they think that it's accurate? how does it feel to create a persona based on yourself? And so after you post your Yellow Dick discussion, your initial post is due by Wednesday at 11:59. This just allows you to engage early, and also you want to hit your goal of gaining 1,000 points by engaging with other classmates as well. And I will also engage with you in Yellow Dig as well to help you get those points. So to elaborate on the week 3 assignment that is due Sunday by 11:59 p.m. For this assignment, you will create 3 user personas. So if you need to go back and view this slide, I will have it available for you in the announcements. I will post this entire slide, but you can also go back and reference to this video to watch the video of the way to create your user persona. But for your assignment, you will research your chosen restaurant and identify their current target market. Also, you will research the restaurant's top 3 competitors, and then you will create and upload 3 user personas. And when you upload your 3 user personas, please make sure to either create a PNG file or a PDF file. Even a Word doc file as well works as well. Also, note you are required to perform online research, so be sure to cite your sources. That is important. If you don't have any questions, then I will see you in our live session this afternoon. But if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly through Canvas inbox. That's the fastest way I'm able to connect with you guys. And I can answer your questions, help you come up with some ideas or some concepts. But if you don't have any questions, then I'll see you later on today in our live session. And if you don't have any questions, I'll see you in the live session. You can also view this replay in the web meetings as well. Bye-bye.